Welcome to the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. This is the source for all things high adventure for scouts, scouters, and anyone else interested in promoting high adventure trips for our youth. You can find all kinds of great high adventure options for your scouts at highadventurescouting.com. We are constantly updating the list of cool trips, and we want your input on your best trip. Welcome, high adventure enthusiasts. We are excited, as always, to highlight a high adventure base on this edition of the High Adventure Scouting Podcast. Today, we're joined by Alan Percy from Birchbark Expeditions, and they are with the Greater Niagara Frontier Council. Now, we're going to discuss Birchbark Expeditions today and everything associated with that. So, Alan, thanks for joining us today on the High Adventure Scouting Podcast.
I'm so happy to be here and really appreciate the invitation.
No problem. I can't wait to hear about it, as always. So, the purpose of this podcast is to give the listeners a little more information about your program offerings. And I'm sure many outside of the regional area may not know much about your program. So, why don't you just give me a kind of a 30,000 foot view of what Birchbark does, and we'll just drill down and you can kind of tell me about the programs and what you guys have done for.
Sure.
Yep.
Happy to do that. Yep.
Okay.
Well, in a nutshell, the program was born out of a high adventure canoeing program that the council had been operating up in Ontario in Canada. And what it really is about is providing a week-long high adventure program that does canoe tripping in as wild a place as we possibly can, and to take scouts and take all those skills that they've learned and take them off to parts afar and give them a true wilderness experience. It really fits in between a lot of the other high adventure programs, which works out really, really well. And in the sense that it's a week long, it's for much of Western New York, Ohio, Michigan, these areas, it's Pennsylvania and other areas. It's about a 1 day drive, 6-7 hour drive, so it's much more cost effective than some of the larger high adventure bases, and it's also kind of a stepping stone. We promote it within our council as being a stepping stone toward Philmont or to the summit or other high adventure programs, because we teach a lot of the same skills, right? There's hanging bear bags, there's how to set up camp, there's those kinds of skills that we teach. It's a 100% volunteer run, which is unusual, and we're a very portable program. We don't have our own fixed base. We operate out of a number of trailers, and with that, we have tremendous flexibility, which has come in really handy lately. So, yeah.
Oh, yeah, I'll bet.
Yeah.
Well, what's the I know you don't have a fixed base, but kind of give me an idea of what a troop leader would expect. I mean, is this,
Sure.
obviously, do you have one fixed area for the summer, or does it change each summer, or how does that work? Because this is a new concept to me, and
Yep.
I'm really curious myself. So.
Yeah. No, that's a great question. So, the typical year is we would operate out of Algonquin Provincial Park, which is, like I said, about 6 hours straight north of Buffalo, about the same from Michigan. And Algonquin Park is a massive piece of property that the provincial park has the province has set apart to be a park, and has hundreds of lakes and creeks and streams, and it's pretty wild. It's not quite alpine, but it's northern shield, which is a lot of rocks, large rocks, really poor soil for farming, but great soil for forestry. And how we operate the program is we have a number of canoe trailers and an equipment trailer, and we set up when we go up to Algonquin, we set up in like a group campsite. We rent a large group campsite for the summer, and then when crews design their trek over the winter, what we do then is we set them up with some training. The first day when they get there, we practice some canoe or canoe rescue. these kinds of skills. And then on Monday, we take them out to their put in wherever they've designed their truck to go. And then they spend Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and part of Friday on their backcountry trek. And a lot of crews try to design a 50-mile trek. Sometimes it's an out and back, sometimes it's a loop, sometimes it's like a horseshoe, starting one place in the park and ending someplace else. And our logistics, our volunteer staff manage all the logistics. We drop off a crew, and then we go pick them up from wherever their takeout is at the end of the week. And of course, we remotely supervise it. Now we have satellite communications with the crews, and so we can keep an eye on them, which has been really a nice addition remotely. And the benefit of the program, as I mentioned earlier, is that because it's volunteer run, it's very cost effective. We charge $450 per person, and this, like I said, fits in price wise. It's usually about the same price as going to summer camp, but it's a whole lot less than buying plane tickets to go all the way down to New Mexico, for example. And one of the other benefits of being a canoe trekking experience is there's a lot less carrying things. There isn't a backpacking trip, but if you depend on your trek, you still do quite a bit of portaging. So it's a physical and mental challenge for scouts, and we've found it to be just about right. And I personally participated and just fell in love with it.
Well, as you're talking, I'm writing notes down because it seems like a hybrid between a typical council, run type high adventure program and an individual unit setup program.
Right.
So it seems like a little bit of both of that. So this is very interesting to me. So, um, what is there a maximum crew size that you would see at Algonquin right
Sure.
now?
Yep. Yep. So we do divide. If a unit comes to us with 20 people, we of course have to divide them up into crews. And one of the limitations in Algonquin we have is that we have a maximum of 9 people on a campsite every night per campsite, and that would be usually 6 youth, 2 adults from from the unit, and then one guide would be with them for the whole week, and that gets you to 9. And if a troop would like to do multiple crews, we divide them up into smaller crews. And this also has the benefits not only of keeping the campsite size reasonable, but it also gives more leadership opportunities because there's one crew leader per crew, and there's one quartermaster and one first aid officer and these kinds of things within the crew. So it gives a real good opportunity for youth to step up and have a leadership role during that whole week. And on top of that, usually we find units that would come and break up in crews. One crew might go on a more aggressive, more difficult track than another crew, and their sister crew might do something less aggressive. They might design it so that they cross paths sometime during the week. That's a great way to kind of have something to look forward to on Wednesday, as if they cross each other. Others do sister crews where they literally go the same trek. They do it on the same direction and kind of leapfrog each other as they go along. Others sometimes do it opposite of each other, again cross paths. So it's a really it's a flexible program, and it really gives that unique experience by spending a week in the woods.
We all know the major high adventure bases around the country, and they offer some awesome programs. Have you been searching for a cool alternative from your typical high adventure trip? As a scout leader, I want to give our scouts some great alternatives. You need to check out highadventurescouting.com. You'll find information on over 30 different council high adventure bases in 24 states. Maybe you're looking for a do-it-yourself option and need some ideas. Maybe you've taken a great trip and you want to share your good fortune with your fellow scouts and scouters. Just send us the details and we'll publish your trip. Whatever your interest, HighAdventureScouting.com is the one-stop shop for all things high adventure. That's HighAdventureScouting.com. Exactly. And those leaders that are listening that are used to, say, the Boundary Waters, that's 9 people. That's the same kind of setup. And you answer one of my questions whether there was a guide that goes along or it's a you kind of do it yourself. So that answers my question. Uh, as far as planning a trip like this, it sounds like once the units sign up, decide to come, you guys will work with them on, all right, here's the possibilities, and do you let them design their own with your input, or how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah, so just quick overview of what training is included. We generally try to get people to sign up in the December, early January timeframe.
Mhm.
That's usually when troops make the decisions about what to do for the upcoming summer. And we have a meeting in late January, and we do typically hybrid. We're doing, physical meeting with a Zoom call going on at the same time, and that we cover a lot of I'll call it just the paperwork, right? It's how's your crew organized? What kind of positions do you need? How do you decide on a route? How's the menu designed? These kinds of things. We kind of give them an overview of everything that they need to do between now and when they put in July. And then we have a second meeting in February, which is a little more youth focused. What we're going to do is we're going to give them all the materials that they need to plan a trek. Actually, we usually give them that on the first meeting, and then we sit with them and help them design their trek. And we have some guidebooks that have maybe some examples that they could follow, and they could just pick one out of the guidebook if they like. But we usually encourage them to, customize it a little bit. It's, one of the beauties of these kinds of experiences is that you can go virtually anywhere in the park. The only thing we ask is you come out on Friday. That's all. But yeah, so they can design their own track, and one of the benefits of that is that then it really truly is the youth's decision, and they have to then live with the impact of that. If they choose something that's really hard and it's tough going on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday on their track, they chose it, right? Or if
Mhm.
it's you know too easy, again they chose it. And if you like to say, it's, this is the boys track, the adults need to advise them but step back and let them make the choices as they go. So that's basically the selection of the track. The other training that we give them is, a lot of the backcountry skills necessary to be able to run a canoeing expedition for a week. There's like, it's different than you would have in, for example, Philmont. um, you have the ability of carrying a little bit more in weight. So there are some fresh food that you can bring in your truck, and then we supply all that. Um, we provide, of course, dehydrated for the most of the entrees in
Mhm.
the backcountry. And again, the youth choose all this, and that's what happens in that February meeting. They design a menu, and they make the choices what food they would like to eat. If they choose to eat mac and cheese for a whole week, they got to deal with it. The adults may not like it, but yeah,
I don't know. I could probably eat mac and cheese for a few days. I would not want to do that on a Philmont trek. I can tell you that. That would be 12 days would be too long.
yep,
5 that might be okay.
yep,
So
yep,
now that kind of leads me into, you're talking about the food, that you guys supply the food based on their menu and what they want. Um, what else do units need to bring with them? This
yep. No,
troop
it's a great question.
equipment and
Yep,
tents and
great.
those kind of things. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, we do outfit units with all the crew equipment. So a complete kitchen, stoves. We use Kelly kettles for heating water. Um, a dining rain fly for camp. All the packs that they would need to carry all this equipment. Provide them with tents. We have quite a collection of 2-man and 4-man tents, and they can use our tents if they like. And then all the bear bag equipment, all the safety equipment we talked about. We have a crew first aid kit that the guide will bring along, and again, satellite communicator. So they're pretty well equipped from a provisioning standpoint. The only thing that individuals need to bring is a list of personalized items that we provide, but it really boils down to the usual camping gear, right? Sleeping bag, um, a single change of clothes in the backcountry. We try to discourage bringing too much because we can actually do laundry in the backcountry. That's one of
Hmm.
the skills we'll teach. And Also some, a dry bag to keep their equipment, I'm sorry, their own clothes dry. And other than that, a couple other small things that we ask them to bring. So it's pretty turnkey, and it's not expensive, right? We don't ask them to buy $150 backpacks or anything like that. It's just a dry bag, a 20-liter dry bag, as we ask them to bring.
Right, right. So that sounds pretty typical for most of the canoe trips. You
Yep,
need the dry bag, and everything else kind of goes along with it. So
yep.
that's good to know. Yeah, the equipment thing is something that I always look at. All right, what's included? What do we have to bring? Not all units have everything, and uh, the and you're talking about washing clothes in the backcountry. I figured out how to do that with our Philmont crew, as we use very very large, like 2 gallon bags and some detergent. Actually,
Yeah,
soap.
space.
Actually, it was the suds that gave us, and that's what we used to wash our clothes. So
Yeah, it's
okay, well,
same procedure. The only
okay,
difference is
all
we have
right.
a lot more water. That's
Oh
that's the big
yes,
difference. Yeah,
yes, yeah. We
yeah,
we made sure we were in a staff camp to do that, but
yeah.
we did not do any laundry when we were in the Boundary Water. So if I went back, I could probably use those skills now to do that again.
Right.
So it sounds like we're on the same trek area. So um, as far as uh, I'm sure most of the scouts and leaders come from the geography around your area. Do you have any units that come from far away that you've seen?
The one interesting little thing about it is you would think that the majority of our treks, of course, are from, the Western New York, New York State, Pennsylvania, but we have some real surprises now and then. And one of them is we have a group, a troop that comes up every other year from Louisiana,
Oh.
and they have a big 15 passenger van, and they turn up every other year, which is a wonderful treat. We've had them from Carolinas and Virginia. This last summer we had quite a crew come up from Baltimore, Maryland, actually of all young ladies, of one of the newer all
Mm-hmm.
girl troops, which
Right.
was a real treat. We had to make a few adjustments to the program to handle just young ladies. So yeah,
Yeah.
it's been we usually get a couple of crews every summer from parts afar, and it's a real treat to get to know folks from outside the area and kind of compare notes as scout leaders do, learn about each other's local area and all. So we love it and love having them come.
Well, that's awesome. Now, do you have just troops come, or do you have venturing crews come up that direction, or?
Oh yeah, we
Yeah.
have
Okay.
venturing crews, and I think we had an explorer post come along. So yep,
That's unusual. They're
yeah,
usually a little more occupational. So that's cool. That's
yeah.
cool. Now you talked about kind of signups. Most of the time, December, January. That's plenty of time to kind of get a spot and those kind of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, what we do is we on our website and WNY, which is Western New York
Hmm.
Scouting.org/Birchbark. We have a chart and we publish what's available. An empty square means it's available, and then as troops register or request a reservation on that website, what we do is we pencil them in, right? We put them on the chart, and then we ask them to make a deposit to secure the spot.
Hmm.
And that's generally the easiest way. People can see what's available. They can work with a youth to pick a week that works for everybody. We can always competing school sports, a lot of other things usually going on. And then based on that, then they lock in, and then they're on their way. And at that point, um, there's payments. We ask them to make at least 3 payments along the way, so that they're fully paid up by June 1st.
Right. Well, $450 is pretty good for any program. I mean, you mentioned that's getting fairly close to summer camp charges in most councils. Not quite, but it's a different program, and I'm assuming that the kind of the age range is typical high adventure, 14 or 13 and finish eighth grade kind of thing, or do you have a different age range that you guys look at?
Yeah, no, we follow BSA rules, which is
Okay.
they have to be 13 by September 1st.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, and there's we have a lot of people sort of worry about, well, my son or daughter is not very strong, and at 13 most aren't, right? And how are we
Right.
going to carry the canoe and et cetera? It's like, well, remember, there in a crew of 9, there's 3 canoes. We do 3 people in a
Mm-hmm.
tripping canoe. It's a big tripping canoes that we'd send them out with, and with 2 adults plus the guide, there's always somebody strong enough to carry the canoes. And if the youth
Actually,
want to give it a try, they're more than welcome, and we're happy to share the load.
the canoes we had at the Boundary Waters were actually the lightest thing. I think the food bags were the heaviest. So,
Yeah,
as idiot adults like we were, we carried all the heavy stuff, and our boys decided that yeah, I'll carry the canoe. And the last day, my son let me carry the canoe, and I thought you've been scamming us, son. I mean, this is light. This was one of the
yeah,
Kevlar canoes. Yeah, the lighter canoes. So I thought,
yeah.
great, thanks, son. He was a lot smarter than I thought he was.
Right, right, right.
So what have I left out? I just kind of covered the real general stuff that leaders like myself will be interested in for a program like this. So, what kind of things have I left out, and what would you like to kind of talk about?
Yeah, well, I would probably, if I was going to add anything from what we've already spoken about, is the importance of understanding that this really is, the youth's experience. And if you, maybe we're going to, suggest people do is pull out a map, pull out a map of Algonquin. You see how huge that is, and in the meantime, give some consideration to that. Um, this year in 2021, we're temporarily relocated to the Adirondacks, and similarly pull out a map and look at the scope and the size of the Adirondacks, and you see there's just some amazing places that you can go. And I would encourage the units to give it a shot. It's a great experience, and I really fell in love with it, like I said, with my boys, and it really made a difference for them.
Perfect. Well, Alan, I want to thank you for joining us today.
Hey, appreciate it. And again, anyone has any questions or thoughts, just wnyscouting.org/birchbark is the place to see all the answers. Good.
Well, I want to thank Alan Percy from Birchbark Expeditions for joining us today. As he mentioned, you can get more information on their programs at wnyscouting.org/birchbark. That's wnyscouting.org/birchbark. Thanks for joining us today, and remember to tell your friends about this podcast. You can find us online at highadventurescouting.com, on Facebook or Instagram. If you have any questions or ideas for future podcasts, just email us at info@highadventurescouting.com. This podcast and website are independent and not affiliated with any youth organization. Happy High Adventure! This has been a production of High Adventure Resources.